Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Happy Friday, Northeast Ohio, and welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show here on WKYC. I'm Jay Crawford. We're with you for the next 30 minutes. We're talking Browns, Cavs, and Guardians. And on the Cavs front, there is a potential trade that is being rumored in the NBA involving our Cavaliers. We'll break down the rumor and tell you if it's a good trade. Bull.
I'm Adam the Bull, and Emmanuel Clase is having a season for the ages. But is the gap between him and the next closer bigger than any other gap in sports? We'll get to that in a little bit. G.
I'm G. Bush. No starters will probably play in this weekend's preseason game for the Cleveland Browns, but I'm going to let you know one of the no-name gangsters you should be looking at because I think they're going to make some plays. Tyvis.
And I'm Tyvis Powell, and I'm going to tell you why this preseason game is going to be important. McNuggets.
Plus, which non-star on the Browns is going to have the biggest impact on how this 2024 season goes? We're going to break down all that and more, starting with this preseason game, Jay.
All right, very good. Thank you, McNuggets. I appreciate it. So Kevin Stefanski says, much like Game 1, don't expect to see any starters in Game 2. They take on the Minnesota Vikings at the stadium tomorrow afternoon. We know that Huntley is going to play at quarterback. We know DTR will get the start. What's the number one thing you're looking for in this game against Minnesota tomorrow night?
Well, for me, I need to see these DBs play better. I mean, the first game, I just felt like they gave too much cushion. It was like they didn't want to get beat, and I understand that. I've been in that situation where I played DB, and the number one way to get cut is to give up something deep. But at some point, you know that the offense is going to be vanilla. You got to see the Vikings in practice the entire week. You did 2 practices against those guys. They're not even going to run those things. It's going to be very vanilla. Be aggressive. Get your hands on the ball. Get up there, press these guys, and show not just the Cleveland Browns, but all other 31 teams why you deserve to be in the NFL.
Listen, I'm looking for some plays, man. Listen, all that, the offense was pedestrian last week. It was dink and dunk. I'm looking for young guys to make some plays, man. You ain't out there just to be out there. While the old dudes is out there drinking Kool-Aid, yucking it up with their $1 million chains on, you supposed to be out there playing, trying to put some stuff on tape. You ain't got no time to be up there hanging out because you're not on the squad like that. I need the Jamari Thrashes, the Cedric Tillmans. Like you said, them DBs back there. And by the way, no one-score touchdowns. The Browns gave up way too many one-score touchdowns in these huge plays. I want to see somebody make a play on the football. I want to see guys rally and tackle, get some sacks, get the ball on the field. That's what it's a standard. Just because you're a backup don't mean that you come out there and be in your gap. That ain't what it's about, Bull.
I agree. One of the things you mentioned was wide receiver. I mean, every wide receiver the Browns have drafted has been a nothing. It's been a disappointment. And once again, they've drafted another receiver this year in Thrash, along with Cedric Tillman, I guess David Bell and some of these other young players. Let's see what you got. Make some plays out there. Obviously, it's the preseason. It's backups. There's only so much you can gain from that. But that's an opportunity to show something. Give us some hope that some of these young wide receivers can actually be a factor in the regular season.
The thing I'm most looking forward to is the fourth quarter clock hitting 0.
Yeah, well,
because this is a nothing burger. There is nothing to see here.
Easy.
Ty, the NFL has told us that.
Listen, it's still guys they're still trying to get on. It's not every spot is not locked up.
No, I understand that, but with this new era of we might play some people of note in the preseason, the league and the individual teams are telling us collectively there is just nothing to see. There's nothing. So if the wide receivers go out and make a couple of big plays, they're not going to be catching the ball from those quarterbacks in the regular season. So we don't really know. I need to know what does the combination of Deshaun Watson and the receivers look like? We're not going to learn that. We might see it a little bit in the third game of the preseason, and I look forward to that. So because of that, I just can't wait for this game to be over. I worry about injuries in meaningless games that mean nothing, and I'm not going to really take anything away from anything I see because the starters aren't playing.
Let me tell you why that's not the case. You
Okay.
will learn something.
Inform me.
I'm going to
Educate
tell you
me.
why. Because last year, you watched the Browns last year, you seen that the injury bug was big. And when guys
I already know that.
Listen, when guys went down, you want to at least have seen that guy that's going in there that's after that. You want to be like, oh, okay, I seen him in the preseason.
Okay,
he was
so if
pretty
they look
good.
great against the threes,
But you at
against
least
guys that'll be
know.
selling
But you
insurance
see
by
the
September.
you see the ability. Like you know what to expect. To
I
where
assume
We
they all
did
have
get
it.
excited about DeJuan Jones before the season because
that?
he showed something in the preseason. I mostly agree that the preseason, from a fan perspective, is meaningless. Obviously, there's value to the team in it, but for the most part, it is meaningless. But there are little things like seeing a young player do something, even if it's against backups, that at least gives you some hope, whether it's real or not. You never know.
I think the Browns, we ain't the Kansas City Chiefs. You can get something out of everything. You ain't no Super Bowl champions. Everybody can get something. And I want the coaches to be dialed in. Hey, I need y'all to plays in. We want to work on something and get something crisp, man. Put something on tape. At least I would rather you have you making plays than not doing nothing.
That's true. Well, listen, I agree with that. Yeah. I hope every guy that steps foot on the field looks good, not bad.
Right.
But even if they look good, I'm not going to proclaim them the next whomever.
That's
No
fair.
pom-poms.
Because no pom-poms. No. I just go out there, don't get injured, and let's get to the season opener against Dallas.
Really quickly, does Mike Hall Jr. play?
That's
No.
a good question. I don't think so.
Well,
Although he
he
was back in
suffered
practice,
suffered a stinger, I think they
He
got.
did, yeah.
So yeah, he's probably not going to play. But I'll tell you what, I'm gonna look at the linebackers. Devin Bush, listen, he's a Wolverine. He's a Wolverine. That guy can play though. I like it. I like him.
I like his name.
And I don't really like Wolverines a lot, but he good.
I like all the Bushes.
All right, let's get pause. All right, let's get to you were excited about this in the open. Which non-star and we know who the stars are. Which non-star for this Browns team is going to have a big impact on the Cleveland Browns in 2024?
I'm going to go with Deontay Foreman.
Ooh.
And the reason I'm going to go with him is because there's going to be some opportunities for the Cleveland Browns with this new offense where you might not be hitting on all cylinders. So when it comes to third downs and tough yards, you're going to be counting on him to move the chains. And that's the most difficult thing to do when you got an offense. You don't want to be stop and start. You want to be able to consistently put together long drives and be able to do that consistently. To do that, you got to pick up the third downs. To do that, you got to pick up those short yardage plays. And I want to see if he's able to block and play. I know he's a bruiser back. He's one of the backs that probably will take over for the Kareem Hunt role. But the thought process is this: short yardage, goal line, we need touchdowns, not threes, and he's going to be one of the guys that are going to get the ball to. I think he's going to play a big role.
I like that answer. I hope you're right.
I'm going with Jordan Hicks, linebacker that we picked up. Listen, everybody's enamored with the JOKs and the miles, but you need a quarterback on that defense. You need a guy that's been there, that's had that Super Bowl experience. I think he was with Jim Schwartz with the Eagles when they won it all. This guy's been a captain. He's going to be the voice. It's up to him to get everybody lined up. He's going to see things exactly how Jim Schwartz sees things. And it's such a big thing, a big benefit of having that guy on the field. You know, I think the biggest thing that I think the Browns can learn to be better on defense is communication. I told you about this. I just feel like they don't talk a lot. I feel like
Is that because it was year one of a new system or no?
Yeah, but you still, at some point, it's got to be a lot of community. You know, if you ask any great coach, you know how you can tell the sign of a good defense? You hear it. There is constant talking. We all need to see the same thing and be on the same page. And I feel like that's the one thing when I look at the Browns that I feel like they don't do. There's no hand signals out there. Secondary-wise, I feel like y'all don't even know each other because y'all don't talk about anything. And I feel like that's the next step. So I think having a guy like him out there who's been a captain, that's been on a championship defense before, he's going to make everybody else talk and be on the same page. And I think that's what's going to help this defense be better than they were last year.
I like that pick a lot. He was my second choice, but my top choice, anytime we've had a question similar to this all offseason, I've said the same guy. And I'll say him again. Alex Wright is going to have a breakout season for the Browns on the defensive line. I think he's going to get double-digit sacks. I got him with 10 sacks.
No kidding.
I love what I saw from him at the end of last year. And I think we've been waiting for, the Browns have consistently brought in veterans on the outside to try to pair up with Myles Garrett. And I think this guy, who had 5 sacks in the final few games last year when he got healthy, is going to make a big impact this year, and I think he's going to be second on the team in sacks and make a name for himself.
I like your answer a lot because there's a light that goes off for players in their career where they just sort of figure it out, and that learning curve is behind them. And I agree. At the end of last season, he was an impact player making big plays in big spots.
Yep.
I love that. I think he's definitely trending in that direction. But you're all wrong, and here's why. DeJuan Jones. This guy, if the year 1 to 2 jump is very, very important. In year 1, we saw that this guy has real value and potential. If he can continue to grow, and what worries me is the professor's no longer in the room. Bill Callahan is down in Nashville, and we're going to miss him. So how does he continue to progress as a young offensive lineman in this league? I hope I'm not getting ahead of myself, but we all said this when we saw him physically. Great footwork, huge guy. He could be a 10 to 12-year starter and star in this league. So he's my guy that's under the radar. That's going to have a big, big year.
Go Bucks.
Just hope he can
Hopefully
stay healthy.
they'll all do it, all 4.
Yeah.
If they do, we're 12-5, and we're talking about the playoffs.
That's right.
All right, we're taking a break. When we come back, Emmanuel Clase is having a season for the ages. Is the gap between he and the second best closer bigger than the gap between 1 and 2, not just in baseball, but in all of sports? That conversation is next. We welcome you back to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We pivot from Browns talk to Guardians talk. And guys, I'm sure you're well aware of the fact that earlier this week, Emmanuel Clase did something that's only happened once in team history, and that's to record a save in 4 straight days. Of course, Jose Mesa, the great closer of the mid-'90s for the Indians, also did that. When you start looking at closers in baseball and the gap between Emmanuel Clase, who now seems to be in a class all by himself, and the gap between he and number 2, is that gap bigger, Bull, than in any other sport at any other position?
There's only 2 others that came to mind when I thought about this. Patrick Mahomes.
That's the one I thought of.
And believe it or not, maybe some people will disagree, I think the other one's in football too, Justin Tucker.
Oh, okay.
That's
Maybe
arguable.
not so much today,
That's
but
arguable.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's hard to make a case. I think being a quarterback in the NFL is ultimately harder, so I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes. In baseball, certainly there's nobody else. You'd say, what about Aaron Judge? Well, I'll give you what about Shohei Ohtani? I mean, they're basically even in terms of hitters. Starting pitcher, is Tarek Skubal the best starting pitcher right now? Sure, but he's close with a bunch of other guys. I could go almost any position in baseball and almost any position in football. In basketball, Jokic is the best player, but there's not a massive gap between him and the next few guys.
Easy.
What? He's not the best player? He's won MVP.
He likes Giannis.
Yeah, but he's not. Jokic won, 3 MVPs in a row?
No,
Two?
Don't even engage in this.
Right
Okay,
now, Bull,
sorry.
you're right. There is no
Yeah,
argument.
I think it's
for
either.
now.
I think it's either Mahomes or Clase, and I'll go with Mahomes, but Clase definitely in baseball.
Man, it's not even close, man. I wouldn't even give you and I like Patrick Mahomes, but there's other quarterbacks that if they're at the top of their game, they can win championships. I think Joe Burrow he's shown he could beat the Chiefs. I think Josh Allen is a great quarterback. There's other teams that if you put those guys around great players, they could possibly beat the Chiefs. When you look at Emmanuel Clase at this point, right now he comes in the game, you're done. He steps on the field, you're out of here. At least like if you playing in the NFL, it's a lot of things that got to happen. And
It's hard to compare it.
It's hard to compare,
Yeah.
but I just think when you talk about his stuff and the way he's able to come in and blow it past people. I mean, guys are up there just looking now. Dudes up there fanning at pitches they don't got no shot at. Right now, especially if he has an ERA under 1, I think he got a good chance to win a Cy Young. I'm going to go with Clase.
What's amazing, too, by the way, is he has his lowest strikeout rate of his career, Clase. He's averaging under 8 strikeouts per 9 innings.
That's what's important. He gets ground ball after ground ball.
And he doesn't
now.
walk anybody. He's averaging 1 walk per 9 innings, which
Very
is absurd.
impressive.
I don't think you could. I think we made it clear that it's between Mahomes and Clase at most dominant at their thing. I don't think you can just say that Mahomes is clearly Clase, because when Mahomes is out there, it's only been one quarterback that's beat him, and that's Joe in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So you can't necessarily make that argument. Now, I will say right now today, If Clase goes out there, it's over with. Don't even, you might as well put the bats down and go ahead and walk off and shake hands because it's over with. So I will say today I would give him that. But overall, Patty is the most dominant player.
I have to go with Mahomes as the most dominant because it's the most important position in sports.
Right. There's so much more being asked of you there.
Way more.
Yeah.
Like you're asked essentially to participate in about 5% of the game's action when you're the closer. When you're the quarterback, you're participating in 50% of the game's action.
Yeah.
And also, he has the hardware. He's collecting Super Bowl trophies.
Yeah. Right.
And right now, he's the closest thing we've seen to a dynasty since Brady and the Patriots. So I think it is that. And the other thing, when I started looking at this, I go, you know what? I'm very familiar with the American League closers, but before I answer this question, let me look at the National League closers. I'm going to give you a name that's way off the radar.
Ryan Heisey.
Nope. I agree. I agree. He's having a great year.
For the Braves.
Rizal Iglesias. Have you looked at his stats?
Yeah, he's been excellent.
Roberto
Suarez has been excellent.
Suarez is another one. So you can add up these guys that are all having. But when you look at Iglesias, he's pitched in 11 fewer games. So obviously he's got 12 fewer saves.
Yeah.
But when you look at his whip, it's lower. When you look at his walks per nine, it's lower. His strikeouts, higher.
The only person ahead of Clase on any of these, by the way, are the player you're referring to, Jay.
That's it.
That's
and
literally
so
it.
because of that,
Is his team in first place?
well, that's a different story.
Well,
But that contributes a little
Ronald
bit.
Acuna went down. It was
No, exactly.
Listen,
That's why I would say it's a
and
different
also
story.
the difference is Patrick Mahomes has been the best quarterback by a lot for, 4 or 5 years now?
Yes, he has.
Whereas Clase's been one of the best closers for the last few years, but this is the first time he's pulled away from the rest of the group.
Quickly, we can wrap this up. Does he win the Cy Young?
No.
No.
Yes.
Wow,
For the
look at
first
that.
time, I'm saying yes.
Okay.
Because, not that this is the end-all, be-all, but ESPN predictor for Cy Young has him not just winning it, but winning it by a lot over Scooble. Now, I don't know what that is. I don't know how they measure it, but he's got a huge gap in points.
He does.
But Vegas always knows the answer to this. And right now, he is a long shot and the fourth pick in the American League behind Scooble.
Let me ask you guys one more question on Clase before we wrap up. We all are in agreement that Clase is the most dominant player in baseball, has the biggest gap between where he is and then the second best player. Who would be second on that list where the gap is the biggest? Is it
Judge.
Aaron Judge? Is it Ohtani?
Shohei Ohtani.
Scooble?
For me, it's Ohtani because obviously his situation. He's one of the best pitchers and he's one of the best hitters. And nobody else can measure that.
I can't even put that on a.
Yeah.
He's not pitching this year.
Yeah, that's
but
the only
He's
thing
not.
he's not pitching.
He's not, but he's still one of the most
By the
dominant
way,
baseball players.
What about Bobby Witt?
He's fantastic. But let me tell you something about Ohtani. I know this is not a round number, so people are not going to make a thing about it. First of all, there's only been 5 players in the history of baseball that have done 40-40.
Oh, I know where you're going. Yeah.
Nobody has ever done 42-42.
Which is
ever.
Which is odd.
He has 37 homers and 35 steals with 40 games
he
to go.
will get to 42-42,
He might
barring
get
an injury.
He's got an outside shot to get to 50-50. I don't think he'll quite get
He'd
there.
have to get really aggressive to do that, and I don't know that you want him to do that with his injury and
Man, he
everything
just
else.
stole 2 bases in the last game they played.
maybe
or
he
2
will
games
then.
ago. I don't know. I mean,
Wow.
he's putting up crazy numbers.
It is pretty nuts. Look, one way or another, let's just say this. We are so lucky to have Emmanuel Clase as our
Beyond
closer
lucky, yeah.
because he's turned everything into an 8-inning game.
And by the way, Josh Hader this offseason signed a 5-year, $95 million contract.
How much is Clase getting?
Guardians have Clase, if you include this year, for the next 5 years, again, including this year, they have him for just over $30 million in those 5
One of
years.
the biggest bargains in sports.
Yes.
All right, we're taking a break. When we come back, there is a trade rumor swirling around our Cleveland Cavaliers. We'll tell you the trade and give you our thoughts when the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show comes straight back. All right, welcome back to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show here on WKYC, Channel 3. We're every day, every Friday. We come your way at 12:30 with 30 minutes of sports talk. So, the Bleacher Report has put out a trade proposal, and here's the way the trade reads. The Cavaliers will send Georges Niang to the Nets plus 4 second-round picks. I believe it's 2025, so next year's draft. Then nothing in 26, but then the second rounders in 27, 28, and 29. For Dorian Finney-Smith, it is a piece that the Cavs desperately need. It could be the missing link to this puzzle. Because the window here, you know how it works.
Yeah.
We've got all the other pieces, but we need this piece. Are you doing the trade?
Yes. I would sprint that up there and take that today.
I would
Listen,
too.
I know.
He's not that good, but I mean,
No,
you're
he's
giving
not.
up nothing.
Right.
I need the size.
And it's what we need.
I need
Why
the
would the
wing.
Nets do it though? I don't understand.
I don't know either.
They ain't trying to win.
Yeah, they not. They not. But
Okay.
Niang can come in there and give him some solid minutes. He'll get a net some flashes. He might even start for the Nets, so he might actually be open to the trade. But I want the guy that is bigger at the wing that can play some defense and he can hit the three occasionally.
His numbers are worse than the A.
But listen, it's something about just having a bigger forward out there that we can actually throw in the mix instead of.
He's not bigger than Niang.
Was it?
No, I'm not saying he's bigger than Niang.
But wasn't Niang on a milk carton during the playoffs?
He was.
Yeah, he was.
Like, that's when we need you to play ball.
Man, this is. I listen. I do that trade. I trade that for that in a bag of Big League Chew. Like, I'm gonna tell you what, bro.
Big League Chew is gross.
Do we
by
give
the way.
up the big league chew, or do we get?
I need to get the Big League Chew back.
Oh, I see.
I need that. But listen, this is. It makes sense a little bit, but I mean, does this move the needle crazy? No. Does it get you a little better? I'll take it. He's more athletic than Georges Niang. I don't think Georges Niang is going to guard nobody, and he didn't shoot well. That's his only redeeming quality is shooting the ball, and he did not knock down jumpers. So I'll take this move and take the trade. But 4 second-round picks, man, we ain't got no first-rounders, man. This is
picks
wild.
at all.
That's a lot.
4 for 8.
The guy is so Minimowski, as you would say, G.
It's-
Bush.
this is
So
a
you wouldn't do
fringe.
it.
I'd do it because why not?
I mean, we ain't got nothing else
He
better
needs
than
the big league chew also.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like when you was growing up, you'd be like, yo, I want to do something. You'd be like, man, let's go ride bikes.
We sit
That
here.
was the fallback.
That is a fallback.
Nothing to do. Let's go ride bikes.
By the way,
bro.
what's worse, Big League Chew or the piece of bubble gum that came in the baseball cards?
Oh, well, that
Big League
stuff
Chew
is
was
horrible.
delicious.
I
Don't
was about to
dare
say,
slam
I
Big
hate
But
League
the problem
like
was
Big
it was so
League Chew.
juicy you wanted to swallow it.
But it's only good for like 5 seconds,
Yes,
and then it's
the
gross.
flavor's dead. Then
Yeah.
it's like chewing wax. So here's where I am on this. We get intoxicated with the big names.
Yeah.
The Cavs have the big names. We've got them, and we've locked them up.
The pieces.
So here's what we're looking at with the Cavaliers. You've got the building blocks of a championship roster, but everybody knows to have a championship roster, you need guys that fill roles. He's a great perimeter defender, so you're getting that, and that is, am I overstating how important that is?
I think you're overstating. Great's
Okay.
not the right word, but they're needed.
He's an above average. Wait a minute.
He's
Wait
solid.
a minute. He's an above average
Yes.
perimeter
Yes.
defender.
Yes.
Can he
Is
check?
Niang?
Niang is not. No.
So it's an improvement in an area we need to improve.
Yes.
Now, if you look at the stats side by side, and when I looked them up this morning, I was like, yeah, maybe I wouldn't do that trade. But which Niang am I getting? Am I getting the guy that could fill it up at a pretty decent clip in the regular season? Or am I getting the guy that sometimes I feel was shooting at the wrong basket in the playoffs? Yeah. He was that far
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Take a flyer.
Why not?
Because what you don't want to do is run it back, as you like to say, with no major piece added and have the same outcome next year.
We already
can
committed.
finish in the with a one playoff series win,
Maybe.
with Niang or without Niang. Let's change it
Yeah,
up. Let's
well,
do
might
the
as
trade.
well.
Wasn't Niang like unplayable in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, he was very bad.
But how's Dorian Finney-Smith?
Unplayable.
He
in the
probably
playoffs? I
never
don't know.
made the playoffs.
No,
No,
Dorian
he was on
Finney-Smith,
Dallas.
His playoff numbers are solid.
They're good. I compared them
They're
to the
solid,
regular
yeah.
season, and they match up.
Wasn't he on Dallas, Mike?
Yeah, he played
Yeah.
on Dallas.
Yeah.
He's played in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 playoff series with Dallas, 1 playoff series with Brooklyn.
What did he shoot from three?
in the playoffs?
Yeah.
He's a career 41% three-point shooter.
I take that.
6
Good.
series.
I'll take that.
He goes up from his regular season three-point shooting percentage.
Yeah, the volume goes way down, but
Sure
the
it does.
efficiency has gone up. The one thing, and now listen, Dorian Finney-Smith's an upgrade over Georges Niang. Do not get me wrong.
But is he worth the
whatsoever.
4-2s?
If you give the 4-2s up for him, you're handcuffed. This is your roster. Done. Finito. It is it.
But don't you feel like we're already there?
I was about to
You're
Did you
say.
get anybody better?
You're
Is there
close,
anybody
but
better?
at the trade deadline, you never know what could come available. If you do this now, you're handcuffing yourself at the deadline, which you may not get an upgrade. He is an upgrade over Niang. Is he the best you can get? Who knows?
What big piece have they added at the deadline recently?
Well, for 4
Karis
seconds, you're not
LeVert.
getting a big piece. You're getting something. Is Finney-Smith the best role player you could get
Right.
for that package right now? The
So
only
right now,
team
feet to
open-
the fire. Are you doing it or not?
I'd be hesitant to do it because I think you could do it at the deadline.
So you're a no.
I'm a no for now.
Well, he
If
might not
it's
be
a-
available at the deadline. He likely won't be.
The Nets aren't keeping him for the whole season.
No, I know, but they might trade him now.
Yeah.
I think I'd live
So
with
you
that
roll the
risk.
dice.
I'd roll the dice.
Are you in?
I would probably do it, but Mike knows this better than I do. So
He's an upgrade. Don't get me wrong. He's an upgrade.
I need somebody that I can play in the playoffs. I'm doing it.
I'm doing it too. As
See
long
you
as
next
the big
week.
league chews, then you're doing
Roll
it.
the dice.
Have a great weekend. Go Browns. See you next week on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.